The Secret Doctrine by Elena Petrovna Blavatsky, a facsimile of the original edition of 1888, printed by the Cunningham Press, Alhambra, California. Volume 1, Cosmogenesis. Part 2, The Evolution of Symbolism in its approximate order, with explanatory sections. Section 15, on Kwan Yin and Kwan Yin. Like Avalokiteshvara, Kwan Yin has passed through several transformations, but it is an error to say of him that he is a modern invention of the northern Buddhists, for under another appellation he has been known from the earliest times. The Secret Doctrine teaches that, quote, he who is the first to appear at renovation will be the last to come before reabsorption, pralaya, unquote. Thus, the logoi of all nations, from the Vedic Visvakarma of the mysteries down to the savior of the present civilized nations, are the, quote, word, unquote, who was, quote, in the beginning, unquote, or the reawakening of the energizing powers of nature with the one absolute. Born of fire and water, before these became distinct elements, it was the maker, fashioner or modeler of all things. Without him was not anything made that was made, in whom was life, and the life was the light of men, and who finally may be called, as he ever has been, the Alpha and the Omega of manifested nature. The great dragon of wisdom is born of fire and water, and into fire and water will all be reabsorbed with him. From Favaking. As this bodhisattva is said to assume any form he pleases, from the beginning of a manvantara to its end, though his special birthday, Memorial Day, is celebrated according to the Kwan Ming King, that is luminous sutra of golden light, in the second month of the 19th day, and that of Maitreya Buddha in the first month on the first day, yet the two are one. He will appear as Maitreya Buddha, the last of the avatars and Buddhas, in the seventh rays. This belief and expectation are universal throughout the East, only it is not in the Kali Yuga, or present, terrifically materialistic age of darkness, the Black Age, that a new savior of humanity can ever appear. The Kali Yuga is l'âge d'or only in the mystic writings of some French pseudo-occultists. See La Mission des Juifs. Hence the ritual in the exoteric worship of this deity was founded on magic. The mantras are all taken from special books kept secret by the priests, and each is said to work a magical effect, as the reciter or reader produces, by simply chanting them, a secret causation which results in immediate effects. Kwan Yin is Avalokiteshvara, and both are forms of the seventh universal principle. While in its highest metaphysical character this deity is the synthetic aggregation of all the planetary spirits, Dhyani Kohans. He is the, quote, self-manifested, unquote, in short, the son of the Father. Crowned with 7 dragons, above his statue there appears the inscription Pu-Tsi Kyun-Ling, the universal savior of all living beings. Of course, the name given in the archaic volume of the stanzas is quite different, but Kwan Yin is a perfect equivalent. In a temple of Pucho, the sacred island of the Buddhists in China, Kwan Yin is represented floating on a back aquatic bird, Kalahansa, and pouring on the heads of mortals the elixir of life, which as it flows is transformed into one of the chief Dhyani Buddhas, the regent of a star called the Star of Salvation. In its third transformation, Kwan Yin is the informing spirit or genius of water. In China, the Dalai Lama is believed to be an incarnation of Kwan Yin, who in his third terrestrial appearance was a bodhisattva, while the Teshu Lama is an incarnation of Amitabha Buddha, or Gautama. It may be remarked en passant that a writer must indeed have a diseased imagination to discover phallic worship everywhere, as do the authors of China Revealed, McClatchy, and Phallicism. The first discovers the old phallic gods represented under 2 evident symbols, the Kan or Yang, which is the membrum virile, and the Kwan or Yin, the pudendum muliebre. See Phallicism, page 273. Such a rendering seems the more strange as Kwan Shin Yin, Avalokiteshvara, and Kwan Yin, besides being now the patron deities of the Buddhist ascetics, the yogis of Tibet, are the gods of chastity, and are in their esoteric meaning not even that which is implied in the rendering of Mr. Rhys Davids' Buddhism, page 202. Quote, "The name Avalokiteshvara means the Lord who looks down from on high," unquote. Nor is Kwan Yin, quote, "the spirit of the Buddhas present in the church," unquote. But literally interpreted, it means the Lord that is seen, and in one sense the divine self perceived by self, the human, the Atman or seventh principle merged in the universal perceived by, or the object of perception to, Buddhi, the sixth principle or divine soul in man. In a still higher sense, Avalokiteshvara, Kwan Yin, referred to as the seventh universal principle, is the Logos perceived by the universal Buddhi, or soul, as the synthetic aggregate of the Dhyani Buddhas, and is not the spirit of Buddha present in the church, but the omnipresent universal spirit manifested in the temple of cosmos or nature. This orientalistic etymology of Kwan and Yin is on a par with that of Yogini, which we are told by Mr. Hargrave Jennings is a Sanskrit word in the dialects pronounced yogi or zogi in brackets exclamation mark, and is equivalent to sena and exactly the same as duti or dutika, that is, a sacred prostitute of the temple worshipped as yoni or shakti, page 60. The books of morality in India direct a faithful wife to shun the society of yogini or females who have been adored as shakti, amongst their votaries of a most licentious description. Nothing should surprise us after this, and it is, therefore, with hardly a smile that we find another preposterous absurdity quoted about Bud as being a name which signifies not only the sun as the source of generation, but also the male organ, Roundhouse of Ireland, quoted by Mr. Hargrave Jennings in Phallicism, page 264. Max Müller, in his False Analogies, says that the most celebrated Chinese scholar of his time, Abel Remusat, maintains that the three syllables Ai, He, Wei in the 14th chapter of the Tao Te Ching were meant for Jehovah, Science of Religion, page 332, and again for the Amyot, who, quote, feels certain that the three persons of the Trinity could be recognized, unquote, in the same work. And if Abel Remusat, why not Hargrave Jennings? Every scholar will recognize the absurdity of ever seeing in Bud, the enlightened, and the awakened, a phallic symbol. Kwan Yin, then, is the son identical with his father mystically, or the Logos, the Word. He is called the Dragon of Wisdom in stanza 3, as all the logoi of all the ancient religious systems are connected with and symbolized by serpents. In Old Egypt, the god Nabkun, he who unites the doubles, astral light reuniting by its dual physiological and spiritual potency the divine human to its purely divine monad, the prototype in heaven or nature, was represented as a serpent on human legs, either with or without arms. It was the emblem of the resurrection of nature, as also of Christ with the Ophites, and of Jehovah as the brazen serpent healing those who have looked at him, the serpent being an emblem of Christ with the Templars also. See the Templar degree in Masonry. The symbol of Knupf, Knum also, or the soul of the world, says Champollion, Pantheon, text 3, quote, is represented among other forms under that of a huge serpent on human legs, this reptile being the emblem of the good genius and the virtual Agathodaimon is sometimes bearded, unquote. The sacred animal is thus identical with the serpent of the Ophites, and is figured on a great number of engraved stones called Gnostic or Basilidean gems. This serpent appears with various heads, human and animal, but its gems are always found inscribed with the name Knotbis or Knubis. This symbol is identical with one which, according to Jamblichus and Champollion, was called the first of the celestial gods, the god Hermes, or Mercury with the Greeks, to which god Hermes Trismegistus attributes the invention of and the first initiation of man into magic. And Mercury is Bud, wisdom, enlightenment, or reawakening into the divine science. To close, Quan Shi Yin and Kuan Yin are the two aspects, male and female, of the same principle in cosmos, nature, and man, of divine wisdom and intelligence. They are the Christos Sophia of the mystic Gnostics, the Logos and its Sakti. In their longing for the expression of some mysteries never to be wholly comprehended by the profane, the ancients, knowing that nothing could be preserved in human memory without some outward symbol, have chosen the, to us, often ridiculous images of the Kuan Yins to remind man of his origin and inner nature. To the impartial, however, the Madonnas in crinolines and the Christs in white kid gloves must appear far more absurd than the Quan Shi Yin and Kuan Yin in their dragon garb. The subjective can hardly be expressed by the objective. Therefore, since the symbolic formula attempts to characterize that which is above scientific reasoning and is often far beyond our intellects, it must needs go beyond that intellect in some shape or other, or else it will fade out from human remembrance. This concludes Book 1, Part 2 of the Secret Doctrine, Volume 1, Cosmogenesis, on the evolution of symbolism in its approximate order with explanatory sections. Next up is Book 1, Part 3, from Volume 1, Cosmogenesis, Addenda, Science and the Secret Doctrine Contrasted.